Perfect Cherry Blossom is among the most beloved Touhou games of all time. The characters, music, and gameplay are still widely adored even 20 years on since its release. The game was very easy to play, yet difficult to push its limits. Many players attempted to aim for high scores, but such an achievement requires great determination, tenacity, and the desire to perform the unprecedented. Few players possess all three of these traits, but one of the most storied of them all is a player who went from revolutionizing the roots of PCB score running to breaking the first 3 billion point barrier to even swiping the entire record board. In today's video, we will be learning about the complete story of HS Sanbou. The beginning of our story goes all the way back to the early 2000s. Back then, Touhou was still a niche subsection of doujin culture, but the Danmaku games grew a small but dedicated fanbase of gamers who enjoyed bombing and grazing bullets. This leads us to 2003, where Zun released Perfect Cherry Blossom to wide acclaim of the comic goers. It was a massive improvement over the jank and RNG hell of the previous Touhou 6, with features like a visible focus hitbox, a third playable character with fan favorite Sakuya, and a new cherry system that encourages risky gameplay. All of those would make the gameplay of Perfect Cherry Blossom more bearable, yet route heavier than Touhou 6. Even though Touhou's score running has been around since at least 2000, it did not really take off until PCB in 2004 with the December Lunar Dial score trials. These ancient competitions have various runners play against each other to see who can obtain the highest score. Various old school players got their start here: ISO, Shin, and Asapine. A couple others were competing in these trials, and HS Sanbou was among them. First, he competed in the normal mode event. He bested his peers, obtaining a 1.69 billion with Sakuya B, an incredible first place finish. He then decided to continue with participating in the Phantasm stage event, where he would try to farm score from Yukari. A 1.3 billion with Reimu B. He managed to best Asapine, though he came in second place as he was only 40 million short of R's record, 1.345 billion. Of course, it would not be Touhou without a bit of lunatic mode insanity, so HS went to work on that end. A 1.85 billion. A fairly respectable score, especially considering the time that this came from. But his run was overshadowed by Gil's 2.54 billion score, a run that was greatly ahead of its time. Perhaps a bit too well. You see, as over the years, he has been accused of cheating, so most record boards do not show his score. Still, many newer competitors took inspiration from this legendary run, HS included. Over the mid-2000s, he continued to play Touhou periodically, gaining score personal bests and posting them around the Japanese internet. However, such an increase in skill does not come out of nowhere. Meet GFA2-ISO, also known more commonly by Z-name Kaicho, Kagamin, or simply ISO. He was an early super player known for holding high scores in Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, Perfect Cherry Blossom, and many other cave Danmaku games. Let's fast forward to mid-2008. ISO held many elite level scores for Perfect Cherry Blossom, most notably a 2.4 billion Marisa A world record for Lunatic mode on the Royal Fair leaderboards. HS and ISO held various back and forward battles, taking back each other's score every week or so. Their rivalry increased the skill level of each other greatly, and it was an excitement to see. few that saw their battle in Royal Flare, it was exciting to see what little improvements could be made. However, two categories proved to be the most sought after: the overall hard and lunatic world records. HS held the overall record for hard mode with his 2.55 billion Sakuya B run. The last time someone other than him held it was way back in September 2005. ISO tried to increase his score periodically. April 2008, he held a 2.338 billion with Sakuya B, but with a 200 million point deficit ahead of him, he had a lot of ground to make up. However, ISO had a stronger lunatic game, where he still held his 2.7 billion score from April 2008, while HS had a 2.541 billion with Reimu B, a run that he was quite surprised by. Throughout summer, the two had a bit of free time to battle it out, though the question is, who will reach the finish line by autumn?
Judgment.
The 13th of September 2008. There was no change in the hard category, but Lunatic had something special. HS managed to steal the long-standing 2.979 billion from Hasaga and pushed it to 2.994 billion. His only comment? Yosh! ISO fought hard, but HS was pushing himself to break the next barrier, the elusive 3 billion high score. For some time, such a score was thought as an insane man's dream, but thanks to the advancement of specific areas on where to pop cherry berries and specific card raising strategies making things refined, the barrier is no longer a what if, it's now a when will it moment. HS, realizing the potential to make history, continued on his grind for a little bit longer. For another 7 days, where on the 20th of September, the world stood still. 3.015 billion. Upon posting it on the Royal Flare, HS only had one thing to say. Otsukare-sama deshita. He had seemingly achieved it all. However, one thing was brewing in the background. Remember when I said that HS had the highest hard mode Reimu B score? Well, he had many more shot type records. Some of you may remember the time when Myon Kichi managed to sweep the board in Wily Beast. It took a year of brutal grinding, but many of the categories were underdeveloped and not played because they sucked for scoring. The same case applies for Perfect Cherry Blossom, where most prefer to play in the regular hard and lunatic campaign with Sakuya B, sometimes Reimu B, but the other four are just trash for scoring. Extra and Phantasm are also neglected as they are based on survival than anything else. By mid-September 2008, HS held 26 out of 36 world records, a difficult but incredible feat on its own right. But when one has that many records, it's only logical to go beyond. Many of the missing scores were held by Kurayasu and Kimura K, both score runners who specialize in easy mode, and ISO, where he captured various lunatic, extra, and phantasm scores from HS previously. However, there is one problem. The shot type records used by those people were rarely played. For example, with the Marisa B Easy World record, No one plays this category. Her cherry farming potential is completely garbage. The same case applies for the other 3 shot types, so a majority of the categories are basically useless and not played for score. But in the eyes of a skilled player, they are free records for the taking. HS did not know how much time his other 26 records could stand, so he had to take the opportunity and try to go all the way. On the 23rd of October 2008, finishing with a 1.855 billion with Marisa A. Easy, he likely became among the first players to ever achieve a board sweep in the history of Touhou Project. 36 out of 36 world records. It was an incredible feat never before seen, cementing his place as the strongest Perfect Cherry Blossom player in the world at the time. For a player his rank, one would expect them to periodically post an improvement to his high scores, or at the very least retire a champion, though HS did something unexpectedly. On the 1st of November, he stopped posting scores to Royal Flair, reportedly so he can relieve pressure from his fellow opponents, though still playing during this time. A month passed, and 8 records were stolen from him at this time. After a back and forth with ISO, HS improved the Reimu A Phantasm score by him obtaining a 1.438 billion on the 27th of November 2008. On the 28th of November, he went back on a mission to reclaim the 7 other world records. The only one he did not take back was the 1.86 billion Marisa A set on the 26th by Kurayasu. Defending one's various world records is not an easy task. Very few players can accomplish that, yet HS could take them right back in a flash. It all appeared to be smooth sailing for him in the foreseeable future, but something heartbreaking happened. Sometime in December 2008, he deleted most of his scores from the Royal Flair website, aside from 6. The next year or two were quiet for HS. He sporadically posted some scores to improve his really old records, but aside from that, he was missing. Many questioned on where he went. Was he burnt out from all that gaming? Did he have nothing else to prove in Perfect Cherry Blossom? Did something horrible happen to him in real life? No one really knows for certain, but I have my own fringe theory. I believe that he got busy with work life. Assuming he was born in the mid-80s, he started his Danmaku career around 16 in 2003, and by the time of his disappearance in 2009, he was around 23, prime time for graduation from university or him entering the workforce. However, that's just my theory, so take it with a grain of salt. But then again, maybe he was taking a little break. HS was not completely dead from score running yet. The 1st of July 2009, HS posted this. A 2.72 billion score for Lunatic Reimu B, a 107 million improvement over his previous. Despite leaving for some time, many of his scores stood, despite a few attempts from ISO. Later in November, HS then posted a few more Lunatic scores for Reimu A, Marisa B, and Sakuya A that all went beyond 2.5 billion. The scores themselves are impressive, however the most evident part are the timestamps of his runs, which all imply that HS has been playing throughout his hiatus. It is becoming clear HS has a clear desire to return in 2010, which means a new era is about to begin. In early 2010, HS returned to a new era, baby. Touhou was in its golden age. The popularity of the project was skyrocketing, and the same was with score running. The advancement of Nico Nico on YouTube made the spectacle more available to the world. HS was still among the very best of all time for his game, though his status as a god was in some doubt, as the disappearance may have caused his skill to rust. After a new 1.56 billion Sakuya B Phantasm world record in February, HS was back on the grind. However, the grind was not enough for him. He went on a rampage. Summer 2010, HS improved literally every category for Lunatic mode. Better yet, he achieved an extremely coveted run. A Lunatic no miss, no bomb, no border break, full spell, aka a perfect run. Without a doubt, HS is back, though despite a massive rampage in the summer, there is still much work to do. ISO managed to improve many Phantasm stage world records, most notably HS's Reimu B world record by 13.3 million. A small increment, but massive that score stood since March 2007. Nonetheless, Phantasm scoring was getting really optimized at that point. Since HS had just finished his grind for the Lunatic world records, he set his sights on Extra and Phantasm mode to retake his records from his old rival. Grind between HS and ISO pushed the Extra and Phantasm stage scores up another 100 million from the categories that were long thought to have been figured out. Reimu B Extra broke the 1.4 billion barrier, and it became knowledge that Tsukuyu B can potentially break it as well. By October, HS won all of his world records from ISO again. However, 2011 proved to be the year of the newcomers, as Kotabu and Clone Naga managed to sneakily take various easy mode world records previously held by HS. Reimu B and Marisa A to above 1.9 billion, Marisa B above 1.7 billion. The new generation were gaining talent quickly, and it proved to be a danger for HS's scores. So, after grinding Extra and Phantasm mode, HS had a new job request. Take back those scores? HS took back all the easy mode records. Seeing as he went this far, it was only smart to take an eye to the other categories to see what he can do. By the beginning of November, only one record remained from him getting another board sweep, 35 out of 36. The hard Marisa A 2.54 billion held by Koko, a talented score runner in the birth of his career. His run was pretty optimized, improving on the previous HS score by about 64 million. However, as seen with the score runners before, when they have a goal, they will get their goals one way or another, and HS is no different. November 15th, 2011, 2.566 billion with Marisa A hard. He managed to get 36 out of 36 for a second time, an achievement not matched since, an achievement that cemented HS as among the greatest players of all time. Even though the world saw him as a declining player of the old generation, he proved them wrong after all these years. Even after, he continued to play Perfect Cherry Blossom like it was nothing, competing a bit with the other score runners in early 2012, though a collision course with Destiny was about to happen. On the 22nd of August 2012, HS posted a 1.242 billion run of Marisa B on Extra mode. He commented that he had a good stage portion, but his run fight was below average. It was a fairly average day for the life of HS. However, 2012 became 2013. 2013 became 2014, and I think you get what I'm trying to say here. HS disappeared once again. He stopped posting his scores. His Twitter became inactive, where he stopped talking with the community. Remember the theory from earlier where HS got busy with real life work? Well, perhaps it was correct all this time, albeit a bit too early. My estimate places HS in his mid-30s, so he's well into his career age. Also, you cannot forget that people can grow out of Touhou. Or maybe, perhaps HS had proved everything he could in his childhood game, so he left while still a legend, though we will never know for certain. Although he is gone and will likely never return, that still does not mean we cannot talk about his fantastic resume. A screenshot revealed that he had played Perfect Cherry Blossom for more than 1,880 hours and started the game more than 27,000 times, and that is very likely higher than we currently know. He was able to perform a coveted scoreboard sweep twice, the only man to have done so in Touhou history. Still, to this day, HS holds various world records with some Marisa B and both Sakuya shot types. Even his P&D high scores from Imperishable Night still hold up, a game he did not main. Oh, and you cannot forget his appearances in Phantasmagoria tournaments. The optimizations he indirectly developed for PCB are staples of the runs nowadays, especially when perfecting the stage 4 opener. He and his rivalry with ISO and the other players opened the floodgates to show the game's true potential, as seen later with the second generation of PCB score runners. But aside from that, that concludes his story. If you enjoyed this video, I thank you. I hope you enjoyed learning about HS. If you want me to cover another score runner story, or thought something was interesting, please let me know in the comment section. Anyway, bye bye brothers.